How do we get more teachers of color into our classrooms? Only 16% of the U.S. teacher workforce are teachers of colors. This is a problem. So a group of us met May 1st of this year. The purpose was to address the problem related to lack of teachers of color in our classrooms here in Minnesota and around the country. 3 questions were used here. What are the filters that keep students of color from entering teacher preparation programs? What are the filters that keep students of color from completing teacher preparation programs? And what can we do? 13 filters were identified. Number 1, students' own K-12 experiences. Most people who go into education have had positive experiences in the educational system. However, this is often not the case with many students of color. Preparing pre-service and in-service teachers to teach in culturally responsive ways, as well as recognizing the systemic racism within the educational system, can be one part of reducing this impactful first filter. The second is college entrance exams. The original purpose of the SAT, the ACT, and other college entrance exams was to act as a filter to determine those students who would be best able to succeed in a college setting and those who would not. Now, these instruments were never very valid predictors of student success. As such, they have far outlived their usefulness. As well, the cultural bias of these exams has been documented. There are other more predictive and culturally responsive ways for students to demonstrate their ability to succeed in higher education. The third filter is the double application process. Students must apply and be accepted into a college or university. Then they must apply and be accepted into a college of education or teacher preparation program. Here, high GPA requirements are used as the primary determinant of entrance. If they don't make the cut for this second application, students have already spent 2 years and tuition dollars at an institution. The fourth filter, inflexible course offering. In most teacher education programs, students are required to move in lockstep through a predetermined sequence of courses. Now, this may be the most efficient for the management of the system, but it doesn't reflect how human beings learn. As well, cohort-only models requiring 12 to 16 credits to be taken each semester don't provide for the flexibility that students with very busy lives need to be able to learn at their best. The fifth filter, limited teacher preparation models. Now, there always will be a need for traditional campus-based teacher preparation programs. However, there's also a need for practical alternatives. These could include post-bac programs, online or hybrid post-bac programs, summer Saturday programs, school immersion programs, teacher apprenticeship models, and others. 6, inflexible student teaching and field experiences. The reality of today's world is that many of our students are working 20 to 40 hours a week. It's a financial burden to have to take off work for a 2-week practicum or a 15-week student teaching experience. As well, the geographic location of placements can add stress for students who don't have vehicles. There are a variety of creative and flexible options that can be considered here. The seventh filter, culturally unresponsive teacher education programs. Teacher education curriculum, approaches, models, assessment, and evaluation tend to reflect a white, Eurocentric norms, values, and perspectives. Recognizing this is the first step in changing it. Pre-service teachers are expected to use uniform ways of planning and teaching. Their performances are quantified and compared using rubrics that are based on a singular view of teaching and learning that too often reflect a restricted, teacher-directed approach. 8. Parochialism and cultural superiority. Parochialism and cultural superiority are evidenced in the use of the Danielson model, high leverage practices, predefined dispositions, and other models and practices that reflect a singular and very narrow view of teaching and learning, usually a direct instruction approach. Invalid assessments. Assessments such as the EdTPA and state exams, such as the Minnesota Teacher Licensure Exam, are invalid indicators of one's ability to teach. They're time-consuming and expensive. They get in the way of learning to teach. They are culturally biased, and they prevent other, more accurate methods of evaluating pre-service teachers. They may be mandated by state regulations, but for our colleges and universities to say silent is to be complicit. Parochial research paradigms. Controlled experimental research has become the exclusive and the epistemologically privileged way of determining causality and making claims as to what constitutes knowledge. Measuring is equated with knowing, by which the illusion of certainty is constructed. When people are reduced to numbers, we lose the voices and experiences of people. Excluding qualitative research methods to determine, quote, evidence-based, unquote, practices creates a distorted and limited view of teaching and learning. The 11th filter is the high cost of higher education and low teaching wages. Pre-service teachers are asked to assume years of student loan debt for a job that has low pay and high stress. Also, students from low SES backgrounds often avoid teacher education programs because of their familiar family needs and a desire to remove their families from unfavorable economic situations. They choose majors they believe to be more lucrative. The 12th filter is the lack of teacher empowerment. Creative, intelligent teachers are not allowed to be creative and intelligent. They're not allowed to adopt or design curriculum to meet the needs of their students. Too often, they are expected to implement district-mandated, one-size-fits-all programs. One size does not fit all teachers or students. Teachers must be empowered to make the curriculum changes that are best for their students. This means that curriculum design courses must be part of teacher preparation and teacher professional development programs. And the 13th filter, lack of diversity. If we are to recruit and retain more students of color to increase the racial and ethnic diversity of the teaching profession, there needs to be more professors, TOSAs, and mentor teachers who reflect these students. All right, actionable items. Not all the items I stated are actionable. Some called for continued advocacy and strong responses from our colleges and universities. However, 12 action items, things we can and we must do if we're to increase the number of teachers of color. Partner with school districts serving diverse populations to develop flexible online post-baccalaureate teacher preparation programs. We can do this starting tomorrow. Design flexible, creative alternatives to field experiences and student teaching. Instead of one long one, we could have 3 or 4 short student teaching experiences. Think outside the box, people. Make teacher preparation, curriculum, and programs more inclusive and culturally sustaining. One size does not fit all. Use culturally responsive teaching in our teacher education programs. That means we must know what culturally responsive teaching is incorporate valid and culturally relevant models for pre-service and in-service teacher evaluation. The EdTPA is not one of these. 6, provide resources for rigorous professional development for teachers and professors. That includes me. That includes critical race theory and culturally responsive teaching. Create alternatives to the double application process. Yes, we must have high standards, but high standards does not mean high GPA. That may be part of it, but we need to think creatively. And number 8, eliminate GPAs as the primary determinant of entry into teacher education programs. Create culturally responsive alternatives to college entrance exam requirements. Universities are doing this. Portfolio assessment. Yes, it has been done. Include instruction related to curriculum design in all teacher preparation programs and teacher professional development programs. Teach teachers how to design curriculum so they're not reliant on the publishing companies. 11, actively recruit, develop, and hire professors, TOSAs, and mentor teachers who reflect the students we're trying to get into our teacher preparation programs. And 12, advocate strongly for higher teacher wages, better working conditions, and rigorous and continued professional development for teachers. When people say we can't do something, can't is another name for word for won't. We can do whatever we want if we put our mind to it. We can't do nothing. We can make the situation better.